local elections can often be quite a good way of doing a test run for a general election. And how do you think Labour will be sort of using this local election to sort of get match fit for a general election?
Yeah, I think this is why it's so useful to have these local elections, because it does tell you where your weaknesses are in terms of campaign capacity, resource. I know that there are fears that their resources might be a bit stretched in those marginal, seats that they want to fight, because those MPs that represent seats with more significant Muslim communities are going to have to work harder in a general election than they anticipated. So that is something that I think they're going to be keeping an eye on in these elections, because there is a bit of concern, not necessarily that they'll lose seats because of the Gaza issue, but they'll lose some resource because they'll have to sort of stay in their patch rather than going and helping their neighbour who's fighting a Tory Labour marginal. So I think that will come into it. And then I think it will be interesting to see whether or not there's any changes in trend. So the police and crime commissioner elections are of interest because most of them are Tory. So I think something like 86% of PCCs in England are Tory. And it will be interesting to see whether or not there is an effect in terms of changing people's votes for those elections, and seeing Labour as more of the party of law and order, because you've got police now failing to solve, I think 90% of crimes police fail to solve, but also, like you mentioned, Aisha, you've got very visible sort of low level criminality going on, antisocial behaviour, shoplifting is a big one as well, and if voters do sort of match the PCC vote to the theme of law and order, then that's something that Labour might sort of take some heart from, and could make more of a central message of its general election campaign, because they sort of tried it and dropped it and haven't come back to it. But it might be something that they go hard on, like they did in 1997. So I think that's something to look out for. And then yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of things that they could be picking up on. I think they will be looking closely at London, because you've got the London Assembly elections too, and so that could tell you a lot about how different Londoners in different parts of the capital feel. TfL has been performing poorly. You've got the ULEZ issue, and also just the issue of Khan's mayoralty. It's gone on for a long time, and there is quite a lot of apathy out there, and people can't necessarily see what he's brought to the city. So I think there'll be that too, especially for London MPs who are worried about losing not only votes to those more right-wing voters who fear for their rights as motorists, but also those voters who we were talking about, the sort of younger, more progressive voters who might take their votes elsewhere, to the Greens or Lib Dems, if they're getting fed up with Labour not taking their interests seriously.